She had never been one to follow orders blindly. In a galaxy ruled by the Galactic Council where strict rules governed every life and every contact, she stood alone. Her name was Lyra, an alien from the planet Zephyra, known for their calm minds and sharp skills in diplomacy. The Council had declared humans a dangerous and primitive species. Contact with them was forbidden, punished by exile or worse. But Lyra had seen something different. She remembered the first time she secretly watched the humans from her ship's observation deck. They were noisy and chaotic, but there was something alive and fierce in their eyes. They laughed, they fought, they helped each other. It was not like the cold, silent worlds of the Council. Something in her stirred. She felt an urge to reach out to understand them. One night, under the cover of a distant star's shadow, she sent a secret message. It was a small signal, coded and disguised, but clear enough to be noticed by a human ship nearby. To her surprise, the humans responded. They did not attack or ignore her. Instead, they sent back words of peace and curiosity. Lyra's heart raced. She was breaking every rule she knew, risking everything, but she could not stop herself. Over the weeks, the secret conversations grew. She learned about their history, their struggles and their hopes. Humans were not the savages the Council said they were. They were survivors. But the Galactic Council was not blind. They had spies everywhere, and soon rumors spread of a Zephyran who was helping humans. The Council's High Commander Vekor sent his agents to find and stop her. The threat was real and close. One evening, Lyra stood on the balcony of her small apartment on Zephyra, watching the stars. She knew she was being hunted. The Council would come for her soon. She had to warn the humans and prepare for what was coming. Her mind was a storm of fear and hope. Could one alien's choice change the fate of the galaxy? Could friendship defeat centuries of fear and hatred? The answers were unknown, but she was ready to risk everything to find out. In the dark corridors of the Council's palace, Vekor clenched his fists. The defiance of one Zephyran was an insult to the Council's authority. If Lyra was not stopped, the fragile peace of the galaxy would shatter. He ordered his best assassin, Kale, to track her down and end her betrayal. Meanwhile, Lyra reached out to her human friend, Captain Marcus. He was a brave and wise leader of a small but fierce human crew. They met in a hidden space station far from prying eyes. Marcus trusted Lyra, even though he knew the danger. Their conversations were filled with hope and fear. Marcus told her stories of Earth's wars and peace, of humans who dreamed of stars. Lyra shared secrets of the Council and its weaknesses. Together they planned to protect each other. But danger was closer than they thought. Kale's ship entered the system, near the hidden station. His mission was clear: find Lyra and stop the human alliance before it could grow. Lyra felt the cold weight of the Council's shadow closing in. She could not turn back now. The friendship she had risked everything for was the first light, in a dark galaxy. But the Council's fear was growing, and with it the threat of war. The night before Kale's arrival, Lyra stood with Marcus looking at the stars. "They fear what they do not understand," she said softly. "But we can show them there is another way." Marcus nodded. "If they come for you, we will fight. For friendship. For peace." As the first warning alarm sounded across the station, Lyra's heart pounded. The Council's hunt had begun. The galaxy was watching, and the fate of humans and aliens alike hung in the balance. Would one forbidden friendship be enough to change the future? Or would the darkness of fear swallow them all? The story was just beginning. The secret alliance was growing, but so was the danger. Lyra knew the Galactic Council would never accept humans as equals. Their fear made them blind, cruel, and ready to crush anything that did not follow their orders. Every day the threat around her tightened like a noose. Lyra's small ship glided silently through the empty space near the hidden base. She watched the stars, but her thoughts were restless. Humans had shown her strength she never imagined. Their minds were quick, and their hearts brave. They had survived wars and disasters on their home planet Earth, and now they were ready to stand against the galaxy's greatest power. The Council called humans reckless and dangerous, They said humans would bring chaos to the order they had, built over thousands of years. But Lyra had seen their courage and kindness. She believed humans could change the galaxy, if only given a chance. On the hidden station, Lyra met with Captain Marcus again. His face was tired, but his eyes burned with determination. "We must prepare," he said quietly. "The Council is sending more ships. They want to end this before it begins." Lyra nodded. "We are ready, but we need allies. Not all aliens hate humans. Some fear the Council as much as we do." Marcus smiled. "Then we will find them. The galaxy is bigger than the Council thinks." They spent hours talking to other species who secretly wanted peace. Slowly, a hidden network of friends began to form. It was risky, but necessary. The galaxy was watching, and many hoped this forbidden friendship could bring new light to dark times, but the Council was not standing still. High Commander Vacor ordered his agents to block all communication between humans and aliens. They wanted to isolate humans and crush any rebellion before it grew. Lyra's ship was hunted like a shadow in the night. She had to move quickly, hide well, and trust few. Every step was dangerous. Every contact could be the last. One evening, as she sent a coded message to a new ally, a sudden warning flashed on her screen. Council patrols were closing in. The secret base was at risk. Without fear, Lyra gathered her small team. They worked fast to move the humans and allies to a safer place. Every second counted. The tension was thick. No one spoke much. The fear of discovery was real, but so was their hope. They believed in a future where humans and aliens could live together, free from the Council's control. As Lyra looked around at her friends, she felt a deep sense of responsibility. She had risked everything for this friendship, and now she must protect it. The galaxy held its breath. The Council's shadow was long, but the light of courage burned brighter. This was only the beginning of a fight for peace, trust, and a new way forward. Would they succeed? Or would the Council's fear destroy everything? Lyra did not know, but she would never stop trying. The secret alliance had begun to spread like a quiet storm across the stars. Lyra and the humans were no longer alone. Small groups of aliens who longed for change joined them in hidden places far from the Council's watchful eyes. These allies came from different worlds, each with their own stories of fear and hope. Lyra felt the weight of their trust on her shoulders. Every step they took was a step into the unknown. The galaxy was vast, and the Council's power was strong. But the alliance grew stronger too, not with weapons, but with ideas and courage. One night, under a sky filled with distant suns, Lyra stood on the deck of a secret ship, looking out at the stars. The air was thick with quiet hope and silent fear. She knew the Council was searching harder than ever. Their agents moved like shadows, ready to cut the threads that held the alliance together. Captain Marcus joined her, his face tired but steady. "We have to move faster," he said. "The Council will try to stop us before we can show the galaxy what humans and allies can do together." Lyra nodded. "We must protect the message, not just the people. The galaxy needs to see that fear is not the answer." In the hidden base, scientists and thinkers worked side by side, sharing knowledge that had been kept secret for centuries. Humans taught aliens new ways to use energy, to build better ships, to communicate faster. Aliens shared wisdom about the stars and the Council's weaknesses. This exchange was dangerous but powerful. The alliance was becoming more than a group. It was becoming a movement, and the galaxy began to notice. Small Council worlds whispered about the strange new power rising in the shadows. Some began to question the strict laws that kept the galaxy divided. The Council grew uneasy, sensing their control slipping. One day, Lyra received a message that made her heart beat faster. An ambassador from a distant and respected alien race had secretly joined the alliance. This was the first major win, a sign that even the most loyal to the Council could see hope in unity. But danger was still near. The Council sent new envoys to the outer systems. looking for signs of rebellion. They demanded loyalty and punished those who showed kindness to humans. The pressure was mounting. In one tense moment, a council ship approached the hidden base. Alarms rang out, and everyone prepared to hide or flee. But instead of attack, the council envoy sent a message: "Surrender your leader and we will spare your worlds." Lyra and Marcus looked at each other, understanding the weight of the choice. Giving up their leader meant losing everything they had fought for. Refusing meant risking everything. Lyra's voice was calm but firm. "We will never surrender. This alliance is the future. The galaxy deserves peace, not fear." The envoy's silence was a warning, but also a sign. The battle for the heart of the galaxy was just beginning. The alliance had shown it could stand, even under the council's gaze. Lyra felt a new strength growing inside her. She was not just fighting for herself or humans. She was fighting for every being who dreamed of freedom. The stars shone brighter that night, as if the galaxy itself was watching, waiting for the moment when change would come. Would the alliance survive the council's pressure? Could friendship and courage break through centuries of fear? Time would tell. But one thing was certain: the galaxy was no longer the same. A new hope was born in the darkness. The galaxy was changing, but the path ahead was still uncertain. Lyra knew that the alliance had grown stronger, but the council's fear had only deepened. Their control was slipping, and in its place, something new was taking root, a hope that many had thought impossible. Lyra stood in the command room of their secret ship, watching the holographic map of nearby star systems. Each blinking light represented a world that had chosen to support the alliance. It was a fragile web, but it stretched farther than anyone had expected. "Every day more join us," Marcus said beside her, his voice steady but filled with urgency. "But the council will not give up. They will try to break us from the inside." Lyra nodded, feeling the weight of their mission. "We must be careful. Trust is our strongest weapon, but also our greatest risk." The alliance had learned to communicate in silence using hidden channels and secret codes. Messages were sent through space dust and reflected light, nearly impossible to trace. This made it harder for the council to track them, but it also meant the alliance had to move quickly and quietly. One evening, as Lyra reviewed plans for their next move, a sudden alert flashed. A trusted ally had been captured on a distant planet. The council was tightening its grip, looking for anyone who dared to help humans. Lyra's heart sank. Every capture was a reminder of the danger they faced, but giving in was not an option. "We must rescue them," Marcus said firmly. "If we lose hope, we lose everything." The rescue was planned carefully. A small team of humans and aliens, prepared to travel through dangerous space, avoiding patrols and hidden traps. Lyra volunteered to lead the mission. It was risky, but she knew that showing strength was important. As they moved closer to the prison planet, tension grew. The silence of space felt heavier, filled with the possibility of discovery. But the team worked as one, trusting each other's skills and bravery. When they finally reached the prison, it was unlike anything they expected. The council had built it far from common trade routes, surrounded by storms of cosmic dust and shifting energy fields. Getting in was difficult, but getting out would be even harder. Lyra's team moved quietly through dark corridors, using every trick they had learned. They found their ally, weak but alive, hidden in a small cell. Relief spread among them, but the danger was not over. The return journey was filled with close calls. Patrol ships scanned the skies, but the Alliance's careful planning and quick thinking kept them safe. Every second counted. Back on their ship, the rescued ally shared stories of the Council's harsh punishments and warnings to others who might rebel. The Alliance knew that the Council's grip was not just physical, but psychological. Fear was their greatest weapon. Yet, even in the face of such pressure, hope grew. More worlds began to whisper about change, about a future where humans and aliens could stand together. The Alliance's message spread, carried by those brave enough to listen. Lyra looked out at the stars once more, feeling the weight of her choices. The path was long and difficult, but every small victory mattered. The galaxy was waking up, and the Council's fear was no longer enough to stop the rising tide. "We are not alone," Marcus said softly. "And together, we will show the galaxy what friendship can truly be." Lyra smiled, knowing that their fight was far from over, but for the first time, she felt that the future was theirs to shape. The stars seemed to shine brighter that night, silent witnesses to a new chapter beginning in the galaxy. The galaxy was growing restless. The hidden alliance had become more than whispers in the dark. It was a beacon of hope for many worlds. Lyra stood at the heart of this change, feeling both the weight of responsibility and the thrill of possibility. News had spread fast. The Council's grip was weakening, and new voices joined the call for peace and friendship. Ships from different planets carrying humans and their allies moved quietly through space, bringing help and hope to those who had long suffered in silence. But change never came without challenges. The Council, sensing the loss of control, increased their efforts to divide and isolate. They sent envoys with promises of safety to those who stayed loyal and threats to those who dared to join the alliance. Lyra watched this carefully. "They use fear to keep control," she said to Marcus one evening as the stars glimmered beyond the ship's window. "But fear can only last so long. Truth and courage grow stronger with each day." Marcus agreed. "We must show the galaxy the strength of unity, not through force but through trust and understanding." Plans were made to hold a secret meeting of representatives from many worlds. It was risky. If the Council found out, the consequences could be dire. But the Alliance needed to show its true power, to build trust openly and bring together those who wished for a better future. As the day of the meeting approached, Lyra felt the tension rise. Every moment was filled with hope and uncertainty. The representatives arrived quietly, each bringing stories of struggle and dreams of peace. They shared ideas, learned from one another, and built plans that reached beyond old fears. During one conversation, an elder from a distant planet spoke softly. "For too long we lived in fear of the Council. But now, with humans, we see a new way. They teach us that strength comes from friendship, not control." Lyra listened carefully, feeling the truth in those words. This was the change they had fought for. Not just survival, but the chance to live freely, to grow together as different beings with one future. Suddenly, a warning flashed across the ship's systems. The Council had discovered the meeting's location. Patrol ships were closing in. The Alliance had little time to act. Calm and focused, Lyra and Marcus organized a swift evacuation. The representatives boarded their ships, taking with them the knowledge and hope that could not be erased. As the Council's ships appeared on the horizon, something unexpected happened. Worlds that had once feared the Council sent their own ships to protect the Alliance's escape. The galaxy was waking up, standing together against old rules. Lyra felt a surge of hope. The Alliance was no longer hidden. It was growing, reaching out and changing the galaxy's future. The stars around them seemed to shine brighter that night, as if celebrating the courage of those who dared to dream of peace. The Council might still hold power, but the tide was turning. The galaxy was no longer silent. It was ready to listen, to change, and to embrace a new story, one written by friendship, trust, and hope. Lyra knew the road ahead would be long, but the Alliance had shown it could stand against fear. Together, they would continue to light the way for all who wished to join. The galaxy was growing restless. The hidden alliance had become more than whispers in the dark. It was a beacon of hope for many worlds. Lyra stood at the heart of this change, feeling both the weight of responsibility and the thrill of possibility. News had spread fast. The Council's grip was weakening, and new voices joined the call for peace and friendship. Ships from different planets carrying humans and their allies moved quietly through space, bringing help and hope to those who had long suffered in silence. But change never came without challenges. The Council, sensing the loss of control, increased their efforts to divide and isolate. They sent envoys with promises of safety to those who stayed loyal and threats to those who dared to join the alliance. Lyra watched this carefully. They use fear to keep control, she said to Marcus one evening as the stars glimmered beyond the ship's window. But fear can only last so long. Truth and courage grow stronger with each day. Marcus agreed. We must show the galaxy the strength of unity, not through force but through trust and understanding. Plans were made to hold a secret meeting of representatives from many worlds. It was risky. If the Council found out, the consequences could be dire. But the Alliance needed to show its true power, to build trust openly and bring together those who wished for a better future. As the day of the meeting approached, Lyra felt the tension rise. Every moment was filled with hope and uncertainty. The representatives arrived quietly, each bringing stories of struggle and dreams of peace. They shared ideas, learned from one another, and built plans that reached beyond old fears. During one conversation, an elder from a distant planet spoke softly. For too long we lived in fear of the Council, but now with humans we see a new way. They teach us that strength comes from friendship, not control. Lyra listened carefully, feeling the truth in those words. This was the change they had fought for. Not just survival, but the chance to live freely, to grow together as different beings with one future. Suddenly, a warning flashed across the ship's systems. The Council had discovered the meeting's location. Patrol ships were closing in fast. The Alliance had little time to act. Calm and focused, Lyra and Marcus organized a swift evacuation. The representatives boarded their ships, taking with them the knowledge and hope that could not be erased. As the Council's ships appeared on the horizon, something unexpected happened. Worlds that had once feared the Council sent their own ships to protect the Alliance's escape. The galaxy was waking up, standing together against old rules. Lyra felt a surge of hope. The Alliance was no longer hidden. It was growing, reaching out, and changing the galaxy's future. The stars around them seemed to shine brighter that night, as if celebrating the courage of those who dared to dream of peace. The Council might still hold power, but the tide was turning. The galaxy was no longer silent. It was ready to listen, to change, and to embrace a new story, one written by friendship, trust, and hope. Lyra knew the road ahead would be long, but the Alliance had shown it could stand against fear. Together, they would continue to light the way for all who wished to join. ChatGPT said, the galaxy was no longer the place it once was. The hidden Alliance had become a shining light, a symbol of hope for many worlds that had lived under the shadow of the Council's strict control. For so long, Lyra stood at the forefront of this new era, her heart full of both determination and hope. Messages of unity had spread beyond what anyone thought possible. Ships from distant stars carried ambassadors and friends, each ready to share stories, and dreams of a galaxy united by friendship. The old walls of fear and division were starting to crack. But even with the growing support, challenges remained. The Council had not given up. They sent emissaries to talk, trying to convince worlds to abandon the Alliance with promises of peace and warnings of chaos. Many were tempted, still afraid of change. Lyra knew that words alone could not break the cycle of fear. We must show them the strength of our bond, she told Marcus one evening, the stars twinkling like distant fires outside their ship. Actions speak louder than words. Plans were made to send teams to help worlds struggling under the Council's pressure. These missions were not about fighting or war. They were about building trust, sharing knowledge, and proving that cooperation could bring a better future. One mission brought Lyra and her team to a small planet on the edge of the galaxy. The people there had suffered from isolation and harsh rules for centuries. When Lyra arrived, she saw fear in their eyes, but also a spark of curiosity. Over weeks, she and her team worked with the locals, sharing ideas about cooperation and kindness. They helped rebuild damaged systems and created ways to communicate safely with other worlds. Slowly, the people began to trust, not just humans, but the promise of a different life. Word of these missions spread quickly. More worlds reached out, wanting to be part of the alliance. The Council's power was fading, replaced by a growing community of friends. The final test came when the Council called for a great assembly, demanding the Alliance's leaders surrender and end their work. It was a challenge, but Lyra saw it as a chance to speak for all who wished for peace. At the assembly, Lyra stood before the galaxy's greatest powers. She spoke with calm strength, telling the story of friendship and hope that had grown despite fear and control. The room was silent. Then, slowly, voices of support rose. Worlds that once followed the Council now chose a different path. The galaxy was changing not by force, but by the courage to be different. Lyra smiled, knowing that this was only the beginning. The stars above seemed to shine with new light, reflecting a future where friendship was the strongest power of all. Together, the Alliance had shown that even in the darkest times hope could grow and the galaxy could be united in peace.